Alright, so, on the couch.
Yeah.
Today on the couch is The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
And this is going to be a discussion about the comics, the show, and the excellent games. So, we're going to put a spoiler warning up, but spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of them.
Yep.
And fan theories.
Fan theories and spoilers and everything.
Yep. Let's do this.
Let's play.
Uh-oh. Connecting.
Battle Couch Gaming.
So I deleted 2 games. I'm going to kill it again. Okay.
It won't. Yeah, it's undead. It keeps coming back.
I don't know if I set up subtitles. Okay, we'll just do this and then
We
hit
can
start.
go. Yeah, there we go.
Alright. This game adapts to choices.
Settings.
Yeah.
Uh,
Gameplay, probably. Or audio. Subtitles. On. Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh. This game series adapts.
Sounds a little crazy.
Oh, I haven't slept in a while.
Sounds
I got up
like a
at
lot.
5 today.
Why did you do that?
Because I can't stop not sleeping.
Take a nap?
No.
Oh.
Okay. So, The Walking Dead.
You didn't really take care of yourself,
Sam,
buddy.
I am the Walking
You are
Dead.
the Walking Dead right now. Sam's been preparing for this role his entire life. He's been getting up early.
We completely derailed it already.
Well, I mean...
So, Walking Dead the games. It's made by Telltale,
Yes.
which has been around a long time. They did the Sam and Max series and stuff like that. But this is,
Sort of their, like, really big breakout
yeah.
video game series. Yeah. It's been just like the accreditation it's received and stuff like that because of it.
Well,
It's like,
I reckon.
I mean,
you
that
didn't do
Telltale's just a really big, you know. It's just it's a big name in video games.
Does it really matter?
I think this really
Not
put it on the
much.
map.
Yeah, it's,
down to this bridge.
I mean, this is probably the resurgence of adventure
This is
games.
about now.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's sort of
Oh god, it's not inverted.
well, deal with it.
I'm just gonna be
Is
silent.
life inverted, Sam?
Yes, in piloting
Talk
sense.
Too much, do you?
So when you try and reach up for something, do you actually reach down?
No,
Sorry,
it's
Chuck.
that when I look down, I push my head forward.
Shut up.
Anyway, now aim the target at the rear view mirror. Adventure games.
Yes.
So now they do like Game of Thrones and,
Yeah.
and Borderlands and stuff
and
like that.
Wolf Among Us.
But it's kind of more of this.
You're from Macon.
It's kind of more of this
Came up to Atlanta to be a cop in the
trend
70s.
towards narrative-driven games.
Yeah, it's like super narrative, story-driven, and really, it's like the choose-your-own adventure game, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have
Real shame. That is.
a whole bunch of control, but you have like enough control to
Whole family
to
is
influence
regulars at
certain
folks'
aspects of
drugstore
the
right
game.
downtown.
So would this fall towards
Sure is.
visual novel territory?
I'd say so. I'd say it's sort of in that. I mean, what does visual novel mean?
I got
exactly?
nephew.
Well,
to you?
I think of the traditional like Japanese
Say hello?
games that are just
Give him
like
a 6 years.
static characters standing in front of
Meet
you
your
and
wife
talking
and
to
apple?
you for hours.
Oh, you mean okay? Yeah. I
You
mean,
wanna
I think
know
it's
how I
definitely a
see
step up from that, in that it's a lot more interactive, and probably a bit more like action oriented too.
Mhm. They do build tension with very simple mechanics.
Yeah.
Could be you just
Just
married
like
the wrong
reaching
woman.
for a gun or reaching for
Or a bullet.
Yeah, something. It's or a knife or something. I don't know.
The Walking Dead.
Heath.
This game's opening is actually amazing. So we're leaving Atlanta,
Yeah.
and you have been convicted of a crime. And we're kind of figuring it out. It sounds like it's something to do with your former wife.
He wouldn't stop going on about how he didn't do it.
Kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about with The Walking Dead is how they use the main character to represent lots of things, but mostly the representation between law, order, and society.
Right.
So, in in the show and in the comics, the main character is Rick Grimes. He starts as a sheriff, and then he kind of figures out his place in the world. The game, you're Lee Macon, or not Lee Macon, what's his name?
Lee something.
Oh man, Lee
Grimes.
Lee Grimes, my half brother. Lee Grimes.
Yeah. On the other side of the law.
So yeah, you're on the other side of the law. You're a college professor, and you basically have you commit a crime, but it's a justifiable crime in some people's eyes.
Yeah.
You catch your wife cheating, or you catch a man in your wife's bed, and you kill him. Which is, yes, it's murder, and the law won't protect you from that, and I have to warn him about this zombie.
Hilarious if I do say so.
Oh, did it get? Well, I mean, yeah.
Oh, action scene. Actually, when I was first playing this game,
There's a health pack. There's a health.
Oh, health pack. Left 4 Dead. Pills here.
Yep.
So he's got this crime that is easy to explain away
Right.
when it comes to the apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. It's something. It's something that's like he didn't like murder. It wasn't like premeditated murder. Or anything.
He's not a serial killer.
Yeah.
He had a moment of anger that he regrets. But it's still something where it's like, okay, on the scale of things that you could do that are bad, this is like bad. They picked the perfect crime, for this character, because
it's something that once people find out that you were convicted of something, they're going to be incredibly suspicious. But then, sort of when it's one of those second glance things where you're like, oh well, maybe he's not as bad of a guy.
It's a violent crime.
It is still a violent crime, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I was a drug dealer, right?
Right.
That's interesting. That basically doesn't matter later on, and as the game goes on, does Lee kind of lose this stigma of being this person that did a bad thing?
Must have a hit.
Right.
And then you go to Rick Grimes, and he's on the other side. He's the sheriff. And oh god, I can't play him.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah. No, keep talking.
Rick Grimes is he's the sheriff, and he's dealing with the lack of order.
Right, exactly.
He kind of immediately takes a leadership position. He's kind of just assertive like that. In the comic and the show, he gets taken out of commission before the apocalypse and wakes up in the hospital.
Yes. He's, I think... What happens in the comic? I can't remember exactly.
I believe it's the same thing.
He
gets shot.
He just gets shot and he gets brought to a hospital where... And as he's in the hospital, everything sort of goes down with the whole zombie apocalypse as they...
Mm. And his partner has rescued his wife and his young son and is running a group, and he meets up with them.
Yes.
But he and his partner have disagreements about how the world should work.
I should probably take that. Yeah. Shane was... How did he...
Well, in the comic, it dealt with him pretty quick.
Yeah.
Shane ended up having an affair with Lori, who is Rick's wife, and possibly impregnated her.
Right.
And the comic is a little more ambiguous, but in this show, it's pretty obvious. Or it might be the other way around with that. But
that's one of the things. I haven't read the comic for a while.
neither have I. But they deal with it quick, and both of them. Well, it's a little weird. In the comic, Carl deals with Shane. He shoots Shane when Shane tries to shoot Rick in the back.
Right.
And Shane's trying to confront him. And this is pretty much immediately after Rick has taught his son how to shoot. So it's like the first thing he does is shoot his friend, but his friend was threatening him. In the show, they draw it out to the second season. Butterfingers.
Oh, God damn.
This one is so awful.
Right by the potential zombie's face.
I mean, even if it wasn't a potential dead zombie's face, you're still right next to a dead guy that we were just talking to.
I like how he's sort of freaked out about it. But
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes he doesn't know that they're zombies.
Yeah, but it's still creepy as shit.
Yeah, I know it is.
And you don't know if you should be doing this because you're a convict. You know what you.
Oh,
dear.
Jesus.
You open door.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Back up.
Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go.
What in the hell?
What in the hell? Oh, no. You gotta drop that bullet. Gotta build that tension.
Butterfingers.
It's so much easier with the...
Don't make me do this!
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. Oh, I did it. What if I, like, shot off to the side instead?
I think it just goes to the killing.
Oh, does it?
animation.
Okay.
Yeah. Rick has to kind of deal with justice.
Right.
And that's really the big theme.
It's like, what? How do you define justice in a lawless world? Basically?
And all the characters' relationship to that question. Hey, look, it's Clem. We don't know it's Clem, but it's clearly Clem up there.
Hi.
Help! Go get someone! There's been a shooting!
Yeah,
Yeah, I shot someone.
the walk away. Yeah, I like how he phrases that. There's been a shooting!
Yeah. Right.
Just... there was a gunfight!
There was a firefight!
But,
wait, what am I supposed to do here? Oh, wait. What the...
yeah.
Oh,
The
Jesus.
zombies are coming to get you.
Oh, Jesus.
Obviously, Shane believed in kind of the rule of the jungle.
Yeah. Sort of
The
the strongest survive sort of thing.
yeah, the weaker meat and the strong eat, or something like that. It's the same.
Weak meat, strong.
Yeah, so he kind of just believed that, like, we need strong members. He was constantly undermining Rick, who was trying to get the whole group to make it to the next thing, regardless of who they were. And so after that, Rick kind of walks the line a bit more on what justice is. In the show, it's kind of interesting.
Right.
Because for a long time, Rick really is a dual character. He does both sides of that. But
Yeah, he toes the line.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
In the comics, Rick is kind of more aggressive. And then I noticed that Tyrese is kind of his conscience. Like, in the comics for a while, Tyrese is the same as, like, the second leader. He's
right, yeah.
So, there's Tyrese and Rick, and they talk to each other and come to a moral decision that way.
Right. They sort of play off of each other and that... like the duality sort of roles of playing the leader, basically.
Yeah, and I wish that they had done that more with the show. But I think what they probably did with that is they kind of did that with Norman Reedus' character, Daryl.
Yeah.
So Daryl he's quiet. He starts out as this strong character that's kind of rough around the edges, and through his growth of, like, accepting that he doesn't need to be a loner and that the group is important and things like that, and that he can hang on to people, he kind of gets going.
Right.
And now he's basically like a second in command.
Yeah, exactly. He's sort of stepped up to that position that Tyrese had in the comics.
Yeah.
So don't look inside. Just go.
They have these villains in The Walking Dead. All good stories have good villains, and The Walking Dead isn't an exception. So in the show and the comics is the governor. Mm-hmm. That's probably the most famous one.
Yeah.
He is the governor of a rival community.
Little town called...
I'm trying to remember.
One of them.
Well, they don't exist anymore, so it doesn't matter. And, he's made walls, and he's trying to basically bring back society. That's another big theme in this show, is people keep trying to bring things back.
Yeah.
So they're living in the past. Oh, man, blood tracks in the kitchen.
That's always a good sign.
This is just the tale of, like, clumsy mistakes.
Yeah.
But, oh man, you're covered half in blood now. This is not looking good. You've shot a person, you're covered in blood, you're chasing down little girls.
I'm not doing great right now.
Yeah. The governor is trying to bring back the old society, but in a way that he wants.
What if that just slipped again right there? That would just be hilarious.
Whoop, whoop. Just, there's a bloody banana peel that you hit.
Of course.
And that's kind of the difference between him and Rick, because Rick acknowledges that they need to move on.
There are 3 new messages.
Right.
Now, in the show, they kind of do an interesting thing where the governor and Rick are both trying to bring back old society for a while. Like, Rick becomes a farmer, they hold up in the prison, they start a community.
Well, I think what, and I might be wrong, but I think this whole intentions of doing the farming wasn't that originally to keep Carl away from zombies?
Yeah, that's another thing.
Because that was fresh off of... Okay, so this is like where...
Spoilers.
So Carl basically has to kill his... In the show, Carl has to kill his mother after she dies giving birth to his little sister, Judith. So, sort of to combat Carl, and Carl sort of becomes this sort of cruel character, or he's starting to become, incredibly jaded and just sort of sadistic, sinister sort of thing. He ends up killing a kid in the woods after...
Unarmed.
An unarmed kid after he's part of the governor's troop who were attacking their stronghold. And Herschel, another character, sees this and tells Rick about it. And so I feel like right after that happens, his whole idea is to, not to like sidetrack so much, I feel like I am, but his whole sort of modus operandi after that is to get Carl to sort of get him away from this incredibly violent lifestyle that is inevitable, but he's trying to just usher him away from it as much as possible so he doesn't stray down a path that, like, Shane may have,
Yeah, there's definitely elements of Shane in Carl.
Yeah.
Because Carl is starting to believe stuff like, well, we just got to kill all of our enemies.
Exactly.
Violence is the solution.
Right.
And yeah, that's kind of an element of all this sort of stuff. So the governor turns out to be crazy. He's actually ruling the community with an iron fist. They do it great in the comics. So in the comics, I believe they get pulled in by a scout.
Yeah.
He's just he's faking as another survivor, and they go in with him. And then they get captured. And then they get put into these, like, fights where I think it's two people are, like, boxing, but they're surrounded by zombies that are chained up.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, but then they pull the teeth out of the zombies, so it's like, it's rigged.
Right.
But,
Hello?
it's just kind of like, it's this normal suburban town, except for it's gone crazy in this one sense. Like, and then it turns out the governor is keeping his daughter, who's zombified, in the closet. Again, the strong theme of trying to hang on to the past, when literally the past is rotting and trying to kill you.
Exactly.
So
I can't remember. Does he keep his daughter in the comics?
Yeah, she's in the closet. He's feeding her.
Yeah, in case that there's like some way to...
Some cure, or
he's just hanging on.
The big thing is they want to see if zombies have memories.
Right.
Which, the show, they do a good job of like illustrating, no they don't. This old man dies naturally in front of them.
Right. Really it's what it sort of comes down to is it's another one of these aspects of society that people sort of have to cut, or like in their, like a tie that they have to cut is, when you're dead and the dead come back, they're still dead, regardless. It may seem like this sort of...
Left me with Sandra.
Well, it kind of gets more into the metaphors of like zombies as a whole. You can use zombies for a lot of things. It can be the fear of, uniformity or conformity. They can be a natural disaster. In this case, it's kind of The Walking Dead feels like people hanging on to the past.
Exactly. They're
and fighting against the lawlessness and things like that. Oh, there we go again. Because, this is something that a normal person shouldn't have to deal with, is killing your little girl's babysitter in front of her.
Yeah, I mean, well, she was in the treehouse. So.
Yeah.
Oh, God! Oh!
I thought he was dead after that.
Yeah, right? Sort of seems like...
That is like a...
Get out of here.
That is like a... You're in your 40s and you die in your home sort of injury.
Life alert!
Yeah. Yeah, if you could use life alert right now.
Get away.
This is Clem, who's possibly the best character. We'll get to her.
Clementine. Help me.
Oh. Man, they really drag this out. Get it in the head. Yeah, I like how you
I am the carpenter.
One more time for good measure.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. I didn't realize that would happen. Okay, well,
You have to do it.
you do. She looked like she was... All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess technically she is dead, but...
Yeah. Undead. Oh, this is... Oh, God, we gotta see the neck thing.
All right, here comes the neck.
Oh!
Jesus.
Oh.
Oh,
She always gets so close.
I know. It's like...
Do the same jokes again. Life alert.
Right, yeah, there you go.
Clementine, greatest character ever.
The hammer.
No one should have to kill a babysitter in front of their...
Terrible. Here's the hammer.
It's hammer time.
The hammer is my penis. No, the hammer's actually a hammer. Not a necrophilic. And we are good. Yeah, coup de grace. Yeah, she's dead.
You have to pierce the
Again.
skull.
I guess so. The metaphor for zombies being like a... You know, it's just... They're trying to cheat death, basically, at that point.
And especially with the Walking Dead zombies, where everyone has the virus, so just dying causes you to turn into a zombie.
I think so.
Sometimes
Yeah.
they come back.
Exactly. Like, it's just like constant threat sort of thing.
No,
Yeah, it's
they
just,
get shot
you
a
know,
lot.
death is always walking around you.
Yeah.
And it's a constant reminder of your
Yeah.
loved ones and all that stuff.
And just your
mistakes.
your mortality.
Now in the
What should we do
game,
now?
the main villain doesn't come around really until season 2. There's like standalone episodes of villains. There's like the cannibals.
It's not safe.
There's some like fights within the
My
group.
parents might come home.
But I feel like the major villain is Carver in season 2.
Try to find
The guy that runs that rival group again. He's in the
That
in the
sounds
like
good.
warehouse,
We can
Oh,
hide
yeah.
in my
and
treehouse
he's
until
just
then.
vicious. Like
It'll be a tough
he is
one.
relentless. He just
Yeah.
will not stop.
Idea. Let's
And
get
for him, like
close to me.
he's just kind of possessive of people, and he's just a representation of like you can't always like reconcile with people. Sometimes
Exactly.
there are just people that will keep pushing it until you have to go far enough.
Right.
Out of the neighborhood.
So
He's
Okay.
sort of just been formed by the
Stay near me.
like what's happened around him to. It's one of those things where like this whole scenario just like pushes people to their limits, and it really tests people's breaking points and like what they're willing to do to survive, and you know, like natural disasters and stuff like along those lines sort of test people's wills, if anything else.
well, but it also makes people think in different ways,
Yeah,
and not always what we'd see as a positive way.
Exactly.
You know, they come to some conclusion that they wouldn't come to unless they were put in that situation.
exactly.
I found the bathroom.
Whoa.
Are we going to die?
Yes,
Yes.
everyone dies, Clementine.
They're after me, not you.
Why?
Because I'm black.
I mean,
Stay down! Georgia State Patrol!
Oh, this is different.
whoa.
that.
We're friendly. There's a little girl here.
Oh, wait. I remember this now. Wait, this is different.
No, I don't remember this part.
Oh,
shit,
shit,
you're
not one of those things.
Oh, no, wait. I remember this.
Oh, damn, you've got a little girl. We're sorry.
That's what I just said.
Well,
Yeah.
Andre's sorry about that.
It's Officer Mitchell.
Don't shoot at people. This is rude.
My name's Sean. Sean Green. This is Andre.
Oh.
Officer Mitchell.
Yeah.
Did you see any of those things? One of them just got
Herschel's
our buddy
son.
Chet.
Yep.
I saw a lot in the forest, but that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're looking for him still in the neighborhood.
So,
shit.
plot
You hurt your leg
development
pretty
and stuff. And
Well, so, let's talk about the kids in The Walking
Your
Dead.
daughter down to my
Okay.
dad's farm to see.
So, we already kind of talked about Carl and how he's kind of gets more violent,
right.
and Rick tries to pull him back from that.
Just some guy.
The And so, kind of the counterpoint to that is Clementine.
Exactly.
Clementine is a great game mechanic
Let's get him
in
moving.
that they'll, like, say, Clementine remembered that, and they show you this sweet little girl and how she remembers stuff.
Right.
Wait, this is completely different. If that's the guy that would usually drive the truck,
Yeah, I don't...
this is new.
Okay.
We didn't get in the cop car.
Did you leave before it got dark last
No.
one of your games? Okay.
No, I did leave before I got dark.
Maybe that's what
That is really weird. I've never seen this. Anyways, this is Telltale being awesome.
Yeah.
So Clementine, as a character, is a great character.
Yeah.
And the theme for Walking Dead with all children, it seems like, is they know what's up more than the adults. Mm-hmm. Like, the children are learning quicker than the adults what the new world order is.
Exactly, because they don't have as many experience to sort of form, like, their emotions and, like, decisions and stuff that the adults would, so they're sort of learning on the fly, as opposed to what an adult would do in regular society versus what they would do in a post-apocalyptic society. Are two completely different things, and they don't always.
Take care of you.
They can't always be the same decision, basically.
Yeah.
So, no, I absolutely agree that like kids are.
I was worried it'd be bad
they're
here,
sort of
too.
the wild card. They're the monkey wrench in this whole apocalypse thing, where they have
Yeah,
they have different ways of coming
I ran into
to
Andre outside of Atlanta.
a means to an end than an adult might.
No.
Just because they don't have the same experiences or whatnot.
Those
So,
things.
Yeah, and I remember in the show they did a pretty good job of talking about
Sorry, Sean.
when Lori was pregnant, she was worried about bringing a kid into this world.
Exactly.
She was upset because Carl had gotten shot while someone was deer hunting.
Your boys are
And she said, this is the world we live in now. Your kid can die at any moment and stuff like that.
Just
and
the guy who found her alone.
So it's kind of this terrifying thing to these people, but the kids have already gotten it. So in the comics,
Yes.
Carl, at one point, there's a kid that's lost it. There's he's killing other people. I think he killed his little brother. They're twins. He killed his twin and ate them. And they kind of did the same thing with the show, but with the girl twins.
So what?
He didn't eat them.
No, I think one of the twins killed the other one or something.
Yes, that's what it was. And they did that in the show with Micah and Lizzie.
Yeah.
And so they, in both cases, the twins were close, and then one of them kind of loses it and kills the other one.
Yeah.
The show was way creepier about it, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
In the comic,
What did you say your name was?
the boy, they find out about it and they lock him in the back of the car.
Nice to meet you,
And
Lee.
it's like they lock him in a van, I think. And then in the middle of the night, Carl comes out
How'd
and
this
he
happen?
kills the kid.
Right.
And I remember he says, like,
car accident.
later on he's like, well, none of you guys were going to kill the kid. You're all adults, you can't handle killing the kid. I'm a kid, I can kill the kid.
I was getting out of it.
That's a really messed up thing.
news
But
is saying.
Carl has a point.
Yeah, well, that's
What are you going to do with a psychopath kid?
Either guy.
You don't have
Exactly.
prisons in the apocalypse.
Right, yeah. I mean,
Who are you with?
there's no, like, right answer in this.
Yeah. That was really crazy. And then in the show, they did a good job with a similar scenario with Lizzie and Micah. So, Lizzie goes crazy, kills her sister Micah, and is kind of threatening Judith. But with her, she comes infatuated with the zombies. She sees them as friends.
Right.
And so to prove her point, she kills her sister, so she'll come back and be friends with
Friends
her.
with her again, yeah.
Yeah, because people are kind of distancing herself
I'm
from
thinking,
Lizzie.
first thing
It's this great
tomorrow,
progression
we gotta
where it like
remember,
started a
it's just
season away,
Yeah.
Your friend?
and then
She
you
just, like, slowly starts sinking into this, like, sort of madness. Where,
she's feeding the zombies like mice, and
Right.
there's a really creepy
Smells
scene
like-
where she's like playing tag with a zombie,
Yeah.
and she's just
Just, like,
having
running
fun.
around in circles.
Those kids lose it. And that's what all the adults are worried about, is stuff like that. Where it's like, oh my god, our kids are becoming monsters. But then there's other kids like Carl and Clem, and to a lesser extent some of Herschel's kids.
Right.
Although they're teenagers, so they are not as affected by these things. Where they just get it now. They're like, okay, so now you always carry a knife on you. This is how you kill a zombie.
Yeah.
My loved ones are going to die. They're going to have to Whoa.
Bad dreams.
Yeah. They're going to have to, at some point, deal with, a loved one walking down the hall and trying to kill them.
Exactly.
Things like that. So...
Get up.
Oh, yeah. And then there's, in the game, there's people like Kenny and his son Duck. And Duck is just an airhead. Like, he just...
You don't have
he,
spiders in
kid.
there.
yeah, and he was always kind of entertaining, but, like, stupid, but Duck dies. Spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm Kenny.
Duck die. Misty. Yeah.
He dies nasty.
Yeah. And,
We better get
he
going.
was too
We won't
innocent
hear
for
the
this
end of
world.
it.
Right, exactly.
He's one of those kids.
That's my boy, Ken Jr. We call him Duck, though.
So,
Duck? Yeah.
I mean, just the way the adults reflect,
water off the duck's back,
react
you
with
know?
the kids is kind of how they react to the zombies, where it's like,
But frankly,
the
I
adults
think
are
it's
seeing the
because
world
he's dumb
change.
as a
They're the
bag of
ones
hammers.
that know the old
He
world
makes up for it with
and can't
enthusiasm.
believe they're in the new world.
Exactly.
And the kids are kind of these mirrors walking around showing them, no, this is what society
Now,
is going
Macon's on
to
the
be.
way, and personally, I'd appreciate the company of a guy who can knock
And that's
a couple
just
of
really
heads
like
together
a
if he
strong
has to.
concept to explore in The Walking
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah, it's because, the... Oh, shit.
Maybe. We'll see how
It's one of the... like, it really comes down to,
Good luck
like, the
with
kids
that.
are still
He's a hard
developing.
ass.
And they're
Duck,
just
this is
developing
Lee.
in a
And,
different way
what's the
now. And
girl's
the
name?
adults have already
Clementine.
developed.
Yeah.
So they have a harder time adjusting to this
Thanks.
new society than
We
these
should get
kids
to
would,
work.
So.
We've all seen what those things can do out there.
It's a really
The faster we get
interesting
this fence up, the better.
sort of
fence.
Yeah? Well, I need a
mechanic,
good foreman.
I guess,
You
of
can sit on the
an
tractor and yell at me
apocalyptic
whenever I take a
scenario is
water
like
break.
On a tractor?
how
Cool.
humanity will sort of
Second
carry
little
on.
hop to it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of homeostasis,
keep an
you
eye
know.
on
Yeah,
little girl.
exactly.
You will never be
We
if
can
your
visit.
if your brain is working correct, you'll have depressing days and you'll have happy days, no matter what happens to you.
Exactly.
It's kind of weird how much the brain can stretch to these situations, and I think that's kind of the point of all of The Walking
It's
Dead.
not the
is
most reliable
life will
pickup
go
in the
on.
world, but it
It'll be
gets the job
terrifying to some people, but it will happen.
Exactly.
And
I'm doing all right.
really, what I enjoyed
Those
about this
things
game
out
the
there,
most is the
hey,
interactions
sure
between the
that's
different
enough.
characters.
But you gotta
Exactly,
ask
yeah.
yourself if you're the
I
type
mean,
of guy who
like,
can do
you wouldn't
better
think
than
you would
that
like
if
games like
parents
this
don't
until
show
you
up.
give it a try.
Yeah, and I think
that in
a great mechanic of this is just like how people like will react and recall what you say to them,
Yeah.
and I think just like how that sort of forms your relationships with people
And that
influences
timer.
decisions and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
That timer on your damn conversation options. Like right now we don't have a timer, but
back on
on
down to
important
Lauderdale,
decisions
let
they'll
this
put a
mess
timer
get sorted
on it.
out.
So
Exactly.
you have to decide quickly.
Government will start handing
Yeah.
out shots, and the National
They
Guard will
actually-
do its
yeah,
thing.
actually,
On the odd
like,
chance things got too bad,
they
we
make you
could
think
hop on my
on your
boat,
feet
I
a lot,
guess.
which
Yeah.
is
You've got a book.
I like that in a
I'm
game.
a commercial
Well, and that's kind of like
fisherman. Catch
a
mackerel,
psychological
dolphin,
test because
whatever's biting and paying
there's
it.
certain tests that
Gotcha wouldn't be
are
wild about
timed
it,
and you
but
have to give an
boat's not
answer
that
as quick
bad.
as you can.
Right. So
And that's to try and get at the first thing
the
you
most
think about.
the most honest
Yeah.
response that you can give, basically. Like, what would you say in this scenario, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can play around with it, like after you've. You can play it certain directions, but with these games, I like to sort of do like my most like honest response first, and then if I go play through it again, I'll just do sort of whatever I think what I wouldn't usually do, sort of thing, just
Yeah.
to see how it
I'm
affects
planning on
and
coming
like
back through on a
molds the gameplay.
fortification
And I do a similar
drill.
thing too.
We'll lock this place
I really like how they put graphs at the end of the game that show who has
Yeah,
been
it
picking
can-
what.
It compares everyone's sort of statistic, like
So you get to see if you're an outlier, if you're going with the crowd, or
Yeah,
if
they
it's
take
a
like
50-50 split on the decisions.
the big decisions throughout the different episodes. They'll bring those back at the end of the game and say, okay, so you scored in this percentile of people, like you and like 50% of or 45% of everyone else chose this, or
That'd be
95% of
great.
everyone
If you cut
chose
those
this
two
sort of
guys to
thing,
length,
and you
that
chose
sure
this.
speed
So
things up.
it's kind of one of those. It's a really it's a smart mechanic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the character switch in
You
the
don't see
games?
things like that.
Because Lee
It's
is
not like
the
in the
season
movies.
1 character.
Right.
Fall like you think.
I actually.
Did you have to do
I really enjoyed how they did that.
Yeah.
I like how they
Dolphin
made
there?
Clementine the lead in the second versus because, well, I guess we can spoil it. No, I just keep choosing stuff on random.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, pay attention to what they're saying and pay attention to the conversation right now. It's kind of hard.
Dad just wants to keep the family safe and thinks
I really,
inviting people in is a
I really
big
enjoy
flip
what they did
and
with
out
the
there.
character swap. I think
How about
Clementine's
yours? How's your family?
I like how you basically get to mold the next character. that you
Yeah.
put- okay.
Whoever they are,
So-
That you play as. I
wherever
just
they are,
Yeah.
respond
they're
with silence.
okay.
Yeah, the season 2 you play as Clementine.
Yeah.
That's
And
probably all I need
she's
for now.
kind of shaped by the events of season 1.
Yeah.
And she's a freaking badass.
She is.
Like,
Sort of proves the point of
Thanks.
or I guess we use that to sort of prove the point of
Anyway, when you see
how
my dad around. He might want some help. in town.
people develop
yeah.
in the.
Well, that was kind of a
new-
problem for the season 2 of the Walking Dead game for me.
Yeah.
Because
Drive it?
people would be doubting her because she's a little girl. I'm like,
Critique of
bitches,
the
you don't know. This is Clementine.
Yeah, you do not know the trials and tribulations that she has been through.
Yeah.
She has seen some shit.
Yeah. Also, in the first episode, they just managed to hit the nice cocktail of all my phobias at the same time.
Oh yeah, God.
So,
that's right.
I have a phobia of dogs, and I have a phobia of needles. And guess what happened in that
only-
episode
yeah.
1 of season 2? You got bit by a rabid dog,
Yep.
and then you had to sew it up yourself with a rusty needle and shit. Like,
Yeah.
and you're a little girl. You're that little girl.
That little girl right there, who has such pretty hair.
Yeah.
You having a nice time with Captain
I actually really like
Yeah.
in season 1, we're kind of jumping around here,
Yeah.
of the game, when you meet, what's the friendly hobo's name? The friendly train hobo.
Oh, the vagrant. I can't remember what
Yeah.
his name is.
Can you just
He has a really
Lee or
nice
something
name.
like that, or
so many people that need it.
But anyways, you meet the friendly train hobo.
the transient.
Yeah, and
just
you're kind of sketched out by him at first, because he just kind of like, you were walking off and scavenging, and you come back and he's sitting with the group.
Yeah.
even then,
You're like,
It's like playing a guitar.
Yeah, he's playing guitar. He's just this, he's like almost a Disney character when you think about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
A wise, like, train traveling hobo.
Yeah.
Transient guy. But I like him a lot because he like
Providence.
he does straight talk with everyone. He's like, "Hey, you need to cut that girl's hair. She's going to get her hair pulled by
Yeah,
a zombie
exactly.
and get killed." Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
your optimism is
He comes in and is like, you're doing some stuff right, but this is what you're doing wrong right here.
yeah,
She's got to learn some shit, and you got to,
you got to teach her some shit.
Some stuff.
She's not a little girl anymore.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, if you want little kids to live in the apocalypse, and that was maybe a little forced, but I liked.
Actually look relaxed.
I liked how they did
doing
that.
just fine. Clementine was
Ultimately,
just telling
because
me
it was
about
just
first
like,
grade.
"Hey, time to train Clementine."
How's that?
It's easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's one of those things where it's like,
So
you really have
good.
It's another like sort of formative
It's
moment
almost like
for,
we didn't
for
see
Clementine,
people
and
eating
it
each
really
other for
like
the past
shows
3
in
days.
the second
It's
season
peaceful
like
here, you know?
what Lee
So,
had to do to sort of
what do you
get her
do
to
when
that
corpses
that
aren't
point,
walking
and
around?
what she had to do to get to that
I'm
point.
a veterinarian back in Fort Lauderdale.
And in the second season, when they bring up Lee,
More with dogs
Yeah.
and
you know, in
cats
conversation and stuff like that, it now feels like
What
a
is it
god
that you
character
do?
to me. It's just
Yeah.
like, Lee.
So, the one.
Lee is so amazing.
Exactly.
Which is really weird when you think about it, because, I mean,
Stay like
you just have to play the games to like him. When I described that he's this history professor that kills his wife's lover,
Yeah.
and then he finds a little girl and, like, carries her through the apocalypse.
It's sort of like his way of atoning for what he's done.
Well, and, like, he doesn't have kids of his own, as far as we can tell.
Right. He has family.
He has family.
I gotta go talk to Herschel now.
He's not like a. He doesn't seem opposed to the idea of friends and family and kids and stuff like that, but
Right.
he just,
Know that if
you know,
don't leave him with
he was
me,
put into an extraordinary situation and he came out as the best possible person he could be. Where with, I feel like with Rick goes through like phases.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he'll be. He kind of swings back and
How'd you
forth
get out of it?
between like this kind of crazy guy and a good person. By this point, he's definitely
was on my
stained.
way out
Like in the comics and the show, he's not this pure, you know, individual
Good time for the
that's
Yeah.
above it all.
Exactly.
I also feel like in the comics, especially, they try and do more controversial stuff. This is a huge spoiler. If you have not gotten to the second compendium of the Walking Dead comics, then it's a spoiler. But Carl's eye gets shot out in a confusing moment.
He gets like half of his face blown off, basically.
Yeah, and it's a full page of the comic.
Splash page, yeah.
Of this just, little boy with his face half blown off. So that's shocking.
Yeah.
And, I mean, was that necessary, or do you feel like they could have done that in a different way?
What do you mean? Like, just the scenario, like him getting shot in the confusion, or?
Yeah, and just the kind of the graphic goriness of it. And
I feel like that's just part of what what this is, though.
It's of it.
Like, it's supposed to feel like visceral and real and grotesque all at the same time, and I think that's just what the I don't know what I'm saying to him right now. I'm just pressing random buttons. I'm probably getting on his bad side. But I feel like that's just sort of what the comics is supposed to be, and what the show is trying to be now, and
so whoever you are and whatever
it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be pretty.
Yeah. Well, except the show is getting more tender, I feel like.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean,
really, after that whole first episode of this new season.
Well, so yes, they had the cannibals slitting people's throats in the beginning of the first season, but then they had
the cannibals cutting off the guy's leg and eating it in front of him in the scene.
But they had touching moments with Doc, like or not Doc, but oh man, I'm forgetting people's names again. Tyrese's sister. Her and Bob.
I don't remember.
Sasha,
yeah.
Yeah, Sasha and Bob were really cute until Bob died. They had the nice tender moments with Beth. Beth was kind of... Beth is another character that I feel like she was just too good for that world.
Right.
She did not belong in it. So she was kind of a sweet girl, and she was starting to learn stuff, but in the end, she kind of had a fight with justice. We're going to talk about police officers in the Apocalypse again. In the most recent season, Beth was in a hospital.
It was sort of being run by these officers.
Yeah, and this is not from the comics or anything. This is original creations for the show.
Exactly.
So they had some liberties here, and so there's this cool dynamic where it's being run by a female officer, and she's kind of letting the male officers get away with their own rape.
Yeah, and they're just like, they treat everyone else in the hospital as like basically
slaves.
Yeah, because they can protect them, and they know that like that the people are going to stay there as long as the police are there to protect them, basically. Yeah. So they can treat them however they want, basically. It's this power struggle. Or not even power struggle, it's just like they just have the power over them.
But so one of the interesting things is, like, they all wear police uniforms, they're all clean uniforms.
Yeah.
This leader character, she's very particular about things being clean and orderly. She must have order. But then she'll turn a blind eye because she knows she's not in a strong power position. If she started going after the people that are not at this point, there's no laws, even though they're officers, but they're just morally bad people. They are raping slaves, essentially, and these patients. So one of the things they'll do is they'll injure people in the streets and then bring them in and then claim, hey, this is how you're going to pay your medical bills since you're going to work for us. And then people just end up with broken arms every once in a while and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For some reason.
I know.
And their stay continues. So Beth becomes part of this system. She doesn't get raped or anything, but she almost does, and she gets her way out of it because she's part of the Rick Grimes group. And the Rick Grimes group does not get pushed around.
They know how to get out of sticky situations.
Yeah. We should call them the Grimies.
The Grimies. Yeah.
But so Beth is part of the Grimies. She knows how to get out of bad situations. She almost escapes, but she gets pulled back in.
Right.
She kind of, at the climax of the season, she gets her freedom. The Grimies come and save her, and they have another person that escaped with Beth initially named Noah.
Right.
And they want Noah back.
Exactly. Yeah.
And basically the police officer's like, you shouldn't care about Noah. He's our property. Like, he's ours.
Yeah.
And so Beth, who is starting to make a connection with this lady, who runs this situation, just walks up to her and says, "I get it now," and pulls out like a scalpel and just stabs her in the frickin' like collarbone.
Yeah.
And basically,
Hey there.
it was just kind of like Beth being like, "Okay, I'm not going to be afraid anymore.
Yeah.
I'm
stepping up.
I'm stepping up. You're a bad person. I'm taking you out."
Exactly.
She didn't really take her out, unfortunately. I mean, don't hit in the collarbone.
Yeah. She missed.
Beth gets shot in the head.
She gets shot in the head.
And no, well, you just gotta get into a store.
Yeah.
But Beth gets shot in the head, and then I believe the officer does die in the gun.
Yeah, I think Daryl killed her.
Yeah, but then it's it's an eye for an eye, and they all back off. That's pretty.
Exactly.
So that was a good example of like relationship between justice and
Well, I mean,
people who get it and people who don't get it.
Yeah.
Where the hell
I
is your
mean,
humanity?
one of those things
Dying
like
out there.
an eye for an eye is still
Just regular folks.
not. I
What's
mean,
dangerous
it's
is a bunch of
justice in
people
like the
running
most
outside
raw
and
sense
drawing
of
their
justice.
attention.
Yeah. So it's still like it's not what society would see as like
Or anyone.
civilized
This is
as
about
we, as we
survival.
call it,
Do
non-apocalyptic
you guys not
society would
see
see
what's
it. So it's still
happening?
another one of these things that's playing with, if these were like actual police officers or anything like that, they, would they have been doing what they had been doing, or
You're a dumb,
it's
careless
that
kid.
the apocalypse just tests people in certain ways, and certain
They've
people
got kids, Lily.
handle it in different
Those
ways,
things
and these
outside
guys decided to take
Exploit.
a route
Yeah.
that exploited
Damn it, Lily.
people who are in need
Harley and Glenn just
and to keep them around to do their bidding basically because they were dependent on them.
Yeah.
But it looks like she's losing control of
Yeah.
the people.
That's
you were in my
that was just a really powerful I think that whole first half of the season was just pretty intense, pretty good.
Yeah.
Just in general because of how it showed
He wasn't bitten.
Hell, he wasn't.
just sort of
We have
the
to end this
just
now.
how far people can fall,
Yeah.
and in different ways too.
Well, and then, like I said, I always like when they bring in officers to compare against Rick, who doesn't call himself an officer anymore. He doesn't
Right.
call himself a sheriff.
Right.
One of the big things that happens is Daryl's brother Merle, who is a convict, always referred to
It's just a
Rick as sheriff,
Lily, I'll handle
Yeah, that's right.
and that kind of made
need to
Rick
calm
kind of
down.
feel dirty. I feel
We'll
like,
get this
you know,
out of
like
here.
We
after the
reasoned
things he's done,
bloody end of an axe handle.
can he carry the title of sheriff?
Right, exactly. Is there anything else like
It's upsetting him.
I don't know that we wanted to talk about from like the comic? Anything that really stood out to you?
Oh, do we want to talk about Abraham Lincoln or not Abraham Washington?
Yeah.
So Abraham Washington is one of the only characters in the comics and the show
There's someone
that
in
has
there.
something to do besides just survive.
Yeah, that's right.
So they introduce him as, I have the scientist that's going to save the world.
Yeah, it's this whole sort of arc where
She'll find the bite. Watch.
he meets like I can't remember how they meet up in the comics. Do they just like sort of show up on their doorstep, or do they?
I believe they're just driving down the road.
And then yeah,
Or like they rescue. I think Abraham saves them,
is that okay? Yeah,
and then he's like, "I need your help."
right. He comes sort of then with the proposition of,
Yeah,
we have like he discerns that they're like they're good people.
yeah, and they're useful to him. And he's got this big truck, and he's trying to get people there. But
Oh god, I'm making all the. I'm not siding
Inside with
Kenny.
Kenny.
I've done that twice now on accident.
so Abraham is a fun character, especially in the comics. I really like how they did him in the comics, where
Right.
Goddamn scratch.
he gives this speech
What do you think
about
that?
don't shoot guns because it makes megahertz.
Yeah.
Which is something they never address in The Walking Dead until that point, where it's like guns are noisy, the zombies are coming to the sound of the gun, and it's like a 2-mile radius every time you shoot a gun.
Exactly.
That a zombie will hear it.
Exactly.
So Abraham gives them like a speech, basically being like, "Hey, dumbasses, quit shooting guns." Oh,
Clementine.
How many times did he fall? I'm going to have to put a counter on this video.
It's his leg, man.
I'm going to have to put a counter on this video.
Yeah.
Clumsy Lee moments.
Clumsy Lee.
Clumsy Lee.
Get it off me.
Oh, God, get off me.
This is assault.
How many bullets does Carly have?
At least 2, 3. I don't know.
She's already shot that guy a lot of times.
I mean, it's probably got like a clip of. It probably had a full clip, maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, that'd be like, what? Maybe like 17.
12
if it's a Glock, it's
shots,
17.
17 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a Glock. Anyway, so don't shoot zombies.
Well, don't
mantra.
use a gun.
Don't use a gun, yeah.
Unless you have to, because it's going to attract zombies. Also, don't stay in one place.
Yeah, keep moving.
Because the zombies will keep moving, and you
have to stay ahead of them, basically.
Yeah, and also people will find you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's kind of like, one, he doesn't care about making a settlement. He cares about taking this freaking scientist who ends up being a liar to Washington. So he has hope. He sees things differently than everyone else. He's another one of these characters that kind of walks above everything else.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes him dislikable sometimes with the other characters because, you know, he just doesn't care about your problems.
Exactly.
I'm saving the world.
Yeah, he has his mission.
He's almost like a born-again person. They do that in the show more, where he was basically going to kill himself.
Right.
And then he comes across
this sort of epiphany moment, or like
where he finds Eugene and,
exactly.
and he says, "I can be useful to this person.
Yeah.
You know, I'm important again."
Exactly. He gives him the reason to live.
Mm-hmm. And he's a former military guy, so he's all about the mission and things like that.
And I'll head out and
so it's his way of continuing on.
Yeah,
I can't remember how they deal with it in the comics. Does he beat up Eugene?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he beats Eugene up. I think they find out a different way from Eugene.
Born and raised.
Because Eugene just loses his nerve in the show.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it in the comics again.
I have to go back and read these.
Yeah. Read the comics if you haven't already.
So
and
good.
For some reason, you're listening to this.
I don't think I haven't read them for like a year. And I read them all like the same time. So there's a lot of stuff to sort of.
There's a lot of good things, and we can't do them all justice because this.
It's like we're sort of giving ourselves just about an hour.
Okay, Carly, you'll shift in with Doug when he needs it.
It's just there's so much to talk about. So. Yeah, the new season of The Walking Dead, I believe, starts up February 2nd or something like that, or 3rd, or...
What do you expect from it?
Or new half of the season.
So they just killed off Beth.
Right.
They're supposed to be heading to Washington, but now they've realized that Eugene is lying.
Right.
So what do? They're supposed to be in Washington according to the comics.
Yeah, this is a really good question, because...
Also, Morgan's heading towards them.
Yeah, that's what I'm really looking forward to, is finding out, like, if they meet up with Morgan again. And like.
So Morgan is a character that...
The first character that Rick meets.
And he meets them again in the comics.
Right.
So they're probably going to meet again. They've already met once again.
I don't think I've gotten to... Do they meet in the comics again?
Yeah, it's that same thing with... they meet Morgan and then they meet Gabriel, the preacher.
Oh, okay.
And Morgan's just kind of hanging out with him. He actually isn't a big character.
Because the only thing that I remember after they leave Morgan, again, I haven't read this for a while, was that little sort of like one-up comic of Morgan and his son.
Yeah.
You know, hanging out and stuff.
And Morgan's another comparison to Rick, but a relationship between a father and a son.
Exactly.
So, Morgan can't kill his wife, who's a zombie.
Yes.
And it's heavily alluded to that his wife probably killed his son as a zombie.
Right.
And basically Morgan just couldn't deal with that stress at that time. But he meets up the group later, and he becomes a strong person.
What's that?
Yeah.
kind of deals with that issue that he wasn't strong enough before, so he'll be strong now.
Yeah, it's another one of those things where like this whole scenario just tests people in certain ways.
Protected this place
they can sort of like choose to move on, or they get caught up in it, and then they have to.
My dad gave it to me.
It's just such a great analogy for like
grieving and death and things like that.
Yeah.
So Morgan in the show is approaching the group. The group has now lost Bob and Beth.
Can I help?
We've got Glenn and Maggie with, well, I guess everyone's back together, but Glenn and Maggie are together. Maggie's sister has died.
Yep.
So she'll be dealing with that. She's now the last member of the Herschel clan.
Yeah, that's right, she is.
Yeah, it's not that heavy.
How about with everything?
For Herschel's severed head.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's still out there somewhere.
Together again.
Oh, no, it got
the leg and the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyrese is still alive at this point, right?
Tyrese is still alive.
In the show. In the comics, he's dead.
Comic is dead.
He dies with the governor.
Oh, that's actually... Okay, that was a question that I had. How do you... What do you feel about the changes between the comics and the books? Or and the shows?
Oh,
like
okay.
how they diverge.
So, I like the artistic choices they make in the show sometimes.
Yeah.
I have to say there's some critical changes that I wish they had done.
Yeah.
Shane being alive for so long bothered me. I didn't. I watched the show first, and then I started reading the comics, and I realized like I had always not liked why Shane was alive. I was like, he's causing a lot of problems. They should have solved this problem a long time ago. I didn't think they'd kill him, but maybe just like exile him or something.
Right.
And that would have been interesting in a show context, but they never really did. And then I read the comics, and they dealt with him right away. So I'm like, they're just creating random drama, like. And that was season 2, which was one of the slowest seasons out of all.
Yeah, it definitely was, because they were just stuck on this farm for...
Yeah. And the farm is really like maybe 2 chapters in the comics.
Right, exactly.
So...
Yeah, they sort of... It's basically what they did in the game, where they were just sort of on it, and then Herschel kicks them off.
Yeah. Well, and I think...
Oh, wait, no, doesn't Herschel...
The farm gets attacked.
That's what it was.
He leaves with them.
My parents don't talk to me when I get in trouble.
But so, like I said, I really like sometimes when they take liberties with the show.
Yeah.
So the cops in the hospital, that's great. There's a that's a big blue. That's a lot of blood.
That blood.
A little.
That's an understatement. I'll find you. There's an episode in season 1 that I really appreciate where it's the character Jim. And he's kind of going crazy and starts digging graves.
Right, yeah.
And by the end of the episode, a bunch of people have died, and they realize why he dug the graves, is he had like a bad dream where everyone was going to die, and so he started digging graves for them. And they like tie him to a tree and stuff because he's crazy. But just that foreshadowing and stuff like that.
Really good.
Yeah. And so that was never in the comics.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's something you can do with a TV show where you have one episode and you can kind of do that foreshadowing and...
Exactly. You can add the stuff in there that'll sort of push the TV show on a little bit further, like the show on a bit further.
Yeah. So I like that. Are there any other good ones? They kind of kept the governor around a bit longer than I expected.
They definitely did that.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Because they kind of just like, oh, he's still alive. Maybe he's turned to core. He didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
He's still the same shithead.
Yeah. They sort of like start building him as if like you'd think that he would
your parents' store.
Be like a changed man after
kind of a Rick in the other direction. Where he came from the bad side and comes in.
But then he just keeps falling.
Yeah. Oh, Andrea is a completely different character in the show.
Yeah, Andrea is still alive in the comic book.
Yeah, she's still alive. She has a relationship with Rick.
Yeah.
She had a relationship with Dale. I think they were afraid to put that on TV.
Yeah.
Dale is an older gentleman. She is probably in her 30s, and he was probably in his 60s, I'd say. Dale.
In the comics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, kind of that relationship is not something they would put in the show. I feel like.
Yeah.
That was kind of another one of those. It's the apocalypse. There's no rules.
Exactly.
There's no social convention about this.
Right.
Like, if people have problems with it, they can deal with it.
Exactly.
So, I think that's where the comics are a little bit more edgy. Is things like that.
Better try.
they're definitely more edgy in that like everyone's having sex.
Yeah, that's true.
Lee?
Like everyone sort of
What if
goes
my
at it with
parents come
everyone
home and I'm
Yeah.
not
one way or
there?
another.
Yeah, and like they're raunchy about it. They're not like this kind of like crying while
Lee?
cuddling sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
and that might just be
okay.
Robert Kirkman
We
when he
should
was a
keep
bit
a lookout.
younger,
I've got my
kind of being
walkie-talkie.
that
Oh,
edgy
we
comic
try that
guy, and
way.
now that he's a producer for the show, it's not.
I think it's just I feel like he's trying to keep the two
kind of
entities sort of separate.
entities.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'd call them that.
Yeah.
The show takes inspiration from the comics.
Yeah.
Doesn't follow it.
No, exactly.
So good inspirations it does, like the Lizzie and Micah thing, where they took this thing that it was like a separate just incident that felt like it was kind of a sidetrack, and made it like a big part of the show, where like it involves Tyrese and Carol, like these characters that were kind of side characters that are now becoming incredibly important characters in the show.
Exactly.
Let's have a look.
In addition to that, kind of another thing I want to note.
It hurt.
What do you feel about
do something about it.
the comic versus the show when it comes to the female characters in general? Like,
Yes, please.
do you get a weird vibe from the comic compared to the show when it comes to how they kind of treat the females?
Well, you're gonna have to maybe
I'm
put some context in that.
I'm kind of leading the question.
Yeah.
Carol is not a strong character in the comics.
Right? Yeah.
Laurie is not really a strong character in the comics. It's kind of
That's right.
you know, it's more traditional gender roles.
Yeah. No, and I think
Michonne is Michonne. She's a
Michonne's
badass.
just sort of exactly.
Cut down the keys.
I like how I like how they made Carol not the pushover.
Yeah.
That she is in the, or like how she develops.
Yeah, much more
As
in
going,
the show. Than,
going from sort of being
Everyone
you
out
know,
there seem all right to you.
this woman who's
well, maybe
from
not the
this
sick
domestic
guy.
abuse, family.
Keep an eye on
Yeah.
Her husband beat
There's
her, and
that
then
thing in the
she
bathroom.
becomes dependent on the
Tried to
group
get me.
afterwards, and then
You stopped it.
she starts developing though. Like she starts learning from the group
Can you
more
do
than
that
anything
more?
else.
then
and
she pretty much the
sort
group
of
depends on her.
takes
now.
command.
Yeah.
I mean,
She steps up
get
after
the
a certain amount of
dangerous
time.
ones.
She's kind of a matriarch now.
But like the
Good.
trials that she had to go through in that were, which is different from the comic, is that Sophia, her daughter, dies.
Yeah,
In the comic, Sophia survives. Carol,
dies.
and I think she kills herself or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like she gives herself to the zombies or something like that.
Yeah, and Carol just kind of fizzes out.
Yeah.
She starts a relationship with Tyrese,
Yep.
and then he cheats on her with
Michonne.
Michonne. Things that have not happened in the show. Yeah,
It's okay.
Exactly.
Thanks
all
for
these
fixing
characters
it.
are alive still.
Yeah.
Still a possibility,
Have you
but
heard from Glenn?
and then she kills herself.
Yeah. She takes her life.
I'm gonna keep
I think she hangs herself.
Okay.
I thought that she gets eaten by a zombie. I can't remember.
There's only so many ways people can die. In
Yeah,
Walking Dead.
exactly. Anyway, so she dies, but
Lee?
Yeah.
it's one of those things
not
where
bad, right?
I like how the show
Asking me that.
does it
That
differently
lady said
in
you killed
that
someone.
she
Was that because
sort
he
of
was
she
one of the
has
things
to,
trying to eat you?
and it makes sense, like her progression, because she has to lose like this what's like most important to her, like
Oh.
really
Was he
jar her
bad?
from her sort of menial, like being the dependent.
Yeah. And I have to say the actress probably does a really good job with that role.
Yeah.
In that you could see that her strength kind of in season one.
Mm-hmm.
She was getting abused and stuff, but she didn't look weak.
Right.
She just was like kind of submissive.
doing what I had to.
And she becomes much less that.
Exactly.
And you should know.
Now, like characters like Andrea and Laurie in the show,
like they start out as these strong,
I guess,
and they stay strong, female.
Andrea's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, she is, but she's her own person.
Yeah.
Too. Like she's not gonna take guff from people. She's been around the block.
She's kind of a female Shane.
Yeah, no, she absolutely is.
And then Laurie show Lori is
up, walking around.
Oh boy.
Turning them into more.
It's not worth going into. I feel like you just gotta watch it, and if you don't know already, she's
she in the second season especially
wavers a bunch, and she's just, I don't know.
She causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, you know, they're legit problems. I feel like, you know, she's a scared mother and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, you would hope that someone would catch on. And maybe that's the point, is that she doesn't catch on. But and like Rick has to talk to her a lot about this sort of stuff. But I just did not like it very much because it's like. It's always hard with The Walking Dead.
No, this place was pretty wrecked.
To deal with when the bad writing comes up.
Yeah.
Is it bad writing because you're like, oh, no one would ever do this? And I wouldn't say that. Like, who knows? Shit's weird when the when the dead start walking.
Exactly.
I don't know what will go down.
Yeah.
But
it's not something you
it just
really
but there's certain situations that didn't feel like they should be happening.
Right.
Really dead.
And that might be a case where the writing was a bit weak.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What's wrong with it?
He's got a heart condition.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that's our talk on The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Hopefully you liked it.
Hopefully I didn't seem too distracted. I'm trying to pay attention to those. This is one of those games. It's hard to have a conversation while playing this.
I realize that we're having like a talking inception. Like,
yeah.
Like, we're one level of talking, and then there's the game talking. And
yeah, exactly.
And then sometimes you're listening to someone talking in the game as the character as you're talking, and this. So hopefully anyone that's watching this, just play in the background and talk over us.
Yeah, that'll be insane. Oh God!
Just get the Christopher Nolan horns right away,
and then record that so that I can listen to that while I play the game and record myself. And then
let's just keep doing this.
And then I kill myself.
And then we get 1 million hits, and Spencer kills himself.
He and I are
yep.
family.
I'm just saying something.
And become a zombie.
Temper like that.
The Walking Dead.
It's just his way.